Hey friends, hope you're having a great day. I had a terrible yesterday. I ended up vomiting after filming yesterday's hot news. I'm sure you wanted to know that. Well, now you do. I had a really rough time. I was hallucinating while I was trying to sleep last night. It was a peachy time. Finally got able to upload yesterday's video at 4 a.m. as opposed to our normal 9 p.m. release, South African time, of course. But now I'm back, still feeling like 60, 70% of 100, but I'm good enough to film hot news. But let's talk about today's video sponsor, which is our brand new merch. You see, my friends, we're gonna be talking a lot about Nvidia's new shenanigans going on with DLSS and ray tracing, but you know what? It just works. Get a shirt, get a pillow, get a coffee cup that shows you everything in your life just works. Pick up a shirt that's ray traced. Pick up a hoodie that's ray traced. My goodness, your iPhone needs to be ray traced. Just buy our merch at the link in the video description so you can represent to all your friends that you're on the up and up when it comes to brand new technology. New brand new technology, not that old. Not old technology. Okay. What am I saying? So check that out. Also, don't forget that we currently have our 200,000 subscriber giveaway going on, courtesy of Wootware. They're giving away an RTX 2080 Ti as well as a 1TB NVMe drive. You can check it out at the link in the video description. And it's an international giveaway open everywhere in the world. Void where prohibited, of course. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into the things that I kind of want to ramble and rant about today, which is Nvidia's DLSS and the implementation into the two games that finally got it, which is Battlefield 5 and Metro Exodus. We haven't been able to test Metro Exodus because it appears that like a bunch of people got pre-release copies to actually review it, and we are not in that circle, so we can't do that. And I haven't had a chance to check out Battlefield 5 yet, but there are a few things that we need to look over in its implementations because a whole bunch of people have already examined it, so let's talk about that. The first and most frustrating point about all of this is just like with Final Fantasy 15, there are real big restrictions that come into how you can actually use deep learning super sampling. So with Final Fantasy 15, you could only use it at 4K because it was downsampling to 1440p and then upscaling it using AI to 4K again. But now it's getting even super more complicated because with Final Fantasy 15, it didn't matter which RTX card you had, everything was fine. But with the new implementations of DLSS, there's rules and regulations, and you can't just use it. It doesn't just work. You have to find out whether or not it's gonna work at the settings you're choosing. So what we see here is that for Metro Exodus, with DLSS, you can only have it on the RTX 2060 if you're at 1080p with RTX on and 1440p with RTX on. If you have RTX off, it's a no-go, and if you play at 4K, it's a no-go. With the RTX 2070, you can play it at 1080p, 1440p, 4K with RTX on, and then 4K with RTX off. And then with the 2080, you cannot use DLSS at 1080p at all. You can only do it at 1440p and 4K. And it's the same with 2080 Ti. No 1080p DLSS. And then if we take a look at Battlefield 5, it's actually kind of similar, just worse to a certain extent. So at 1080p, you can only do the 2060 and 2070 with RTX on, not the 2080 and 2080 Ti. 1440p, you can only use it with RTX on the 2060, 2070, and 2080, no 2080 Ti. And then at 4K, all cards can use DLSS with RTX on, not at all with RTX off. So Battlefield 5 means that you cannot use deep learning super sampling if you have RTX off whatsoever. The reasoning that Nvidia has given to this when they responded to Tech Power Up reaching out to them said, DLSS is most effective when the GPU is at maximum workload, such that if a GPU is not being challenged enough, DLSS is not going to be made available. Accordingly, this implementation encourages users to turn on RTX first, thus increasing the GPU load to then enable DLSS. It would thus be fair to extrapolate why the RTX 2080 Ti does not get to enjoy DLSS at lower resolutions, where perhaps it is not being taxed as hard. What? Tech Power Up says it pretty good in the next sentence. We do not buy this explanation, however. I'm sorry, GPUs can be at 100% utilization at 1080p with RTX off. It's called unlimited frame rate. You just let the frames run higher. What is this? What do you mean at 1080p you can't get 100% GPU utilization? What are we running on Core 2 Duos where everything's CPU bound? What are they even on about? Sorry, that's probably the sickness coming through there.
What is sickness?
What Tech PowerUp speculates, and what I could also probably gather from this, is that with the tensor cores that are available on the 2060, 2070, all of the RTX cards, they can only output AI renderings at a certain frame rate. And if the GPU, the CUDA cores, can actually render a game faster than what the tensor cores can, then enabling DLSS is actually going to slow down your frame rate and not allow you to get the benefits that Nvidia has been touting from this completely. The only place where you're 100% all of the time going to see a benefit is with RTX on, because the ray tracing cores actually slow down the graphics card enough that DLSS would then speed up the game at that point. But if you're trying to play a 2080 Ti at 1080p with ray tracing on, well, that's too fast for the tensor cores to keep up with, so you have to make sure that you're either at 1440p or 4K so that your frame rate is low enough to get a frame rate boost from DLSS, which is just a bunch of bullcrap. But hey, everything just works.
Everything just works.
And then, not to mention, so there are plenty of side-by-side comparisons that have come out with DLSS, and it looks like pure trash. So if we take a look at just the textures on everything, especially when we zoom in, DLSS on really ruins textures when it comes to Metro Exodus and Battlefield 5. Everything gets smudgy and weird, and it looks like Vaseline was just like smeared across the screen a little bit, just a little bit, like a picometer of Vaseline just applied. It doesn't make it look terrible, but it doesn't make it look good by any stretch. And the fact that for the most part you have to have RTX on to do it means that you're changing certain settings in order to get faster frame. None of this makes sense. And especially on things like this train. Like, look at that. Look at all of the detail that you end up losing because you turn DLSS on. You get a worse looking game for faster performance that you could get if you just turn RTX off, and then it still looks fine. What is happening? I'll tell you what's happening. Everything just works. Trash! And it's the exact same with Battlefield 5. The comparisons on versus off, you lose all sorts of textures. Things get looking gross. It's not particularly good. And then Gamers Nexus did a pretty good 30-minute deep dive into RTX on in Metro Exodus. If you guys don't have time to watch the video, the summation is this. In dark scenes, doesn't really matter at all. In other scenes, it actually makes a huge improvement, especially when people are in the shadow of a train, because light can bounce off of like the reflection of the snow, and it's pretty cool, but it's only global illumination. It's not everything that ray tracing has to offer, so it's not 100% perfect in all implementations, and essentially in most cases, it's just as fine with RTX off. And especially if you don't want to lose some textures, turning RTX off, getting the same frame rate you would as if you had RTX on with DLSS. You're going to get a better looking image because DLSS is ruining a lot of the image quality that's happening. And you can see here in OC3D, they have some side-by-side comparisons, especially in this scene where people are lit by candlelight instead of just being blown out anyways. There's like some nice contrasty shadows. So ray tracing can actually look pretty good here, but DLSS is a giant load of poppycock, and the fact that you can't run it unless you have a slow enough frame rate is just a bunch of malarkey. So that's enough of that. I'm done ranting and raving about that. Let's talk about cards that have no ray tracing, the GTX 1660 Ti. Guess what else it doesn't have? 6 gigabytes of VRAM, at least some of them, because now there's been information coming out that Asus has several different model numbers of the 1660 Ti with 3 gigabytes of VRAM with their filings on the EEC. So great, yeah, 2019, 3 gigabytes of VRAM, that's terrible. We're working on a video of the GTX 970, is it worth it in 2019? And even with a 3.5 gigabytes of VRAM, you're actually slightly okay. With 3 gigabytes of VRAM, you're kind of screwed because most games use between 3 and 3.5 at high settings at 1080p, and a lot of other games actually use 4 gigabytes. But geez, why? Bad Nvidia, nay. I say no to you. And then people are also saying no to Apple with their upgrade cycles on the iPhone. According to an analyst, the upgrade path for iPhones is now gone up to 4 years from the typical 3 years that it was in 2018. They blame this on several things, such as the fact that iPhones are just really, really fast with their A series processors. Then also the battery replacement program, which helped to not obsoletize the phones that people were actually having, since Apple wasn't slowing them down anymore because people had new batteries in them, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it could also just be the fact that they're freaking expensive. I don't know, that's just me though. You know what else is freaking expensive? Tesla cars, but they're so gosh dang worth it. I can't wait to get mine. They're going on sale in South Africa, I can't wait. Anyways, they unveiled a new dog mode and Sentry mode for the cars, which gives it a few different abilities. With dog mode, it makes sure that the climate inside the car is controlled enough to make sure that the dog isn't gonna die, and it puts a display on the actual display tablet thing. Big, what's that called? Screen. It's called a screen. The screen in the car that says, "My owner will be back soon," and then displays the internal temperature to let people know that the dogs aren't dying of heat stroke or freezing to death. And then there's also Sentry mode, which constantly monitors the surroundings of the car if it's left unattended, to let the owners know if something going wrong, somebody gonna attack it, because people attack Teslas. That stuff happens.
Is there actually a thing, like a bunch of coal roller people surrounded a Tesla function or something like that?
Well, no, there's a lot of stuff happening where pickup truck owners drive in front of superchargers and just park their cars there to kind of piss off the Tesla owners. And just because they're angry people, I don't know. And then in the biggest whoopsie doopsie of the day, the SEC is filing a charge against an Apple compliance lawyer with insider trading. And part of his role as the compliance lawyer was to make sure that there was no insider trading going on. Congratulations, you just played yourself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
And then let's talk about Nintendo Direct. This actually happened last night. There was a lot of announcements that went along with it. We're getting Super Mario Maker 2. We're getting The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which is a remake of the 1993 video game. Then we also have Fire Emblem Three Houses being moved on its release date to July 26th, when it's supposed to come out earlier, but there was more information about that. Platinum Games reveals Astral Chains. Then we got Box Boy and Box Girl coming to Switch on April 26th, and Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. You like Dragon Quest?
It's Final Fantasy with Dragon Ball.
How have I never been told about this?
It's Final Fantasy and Dragon Ball.
How have I never played this game? I hate you right now. You know I have a Switch. You should have told me about this. And then Final Fantasy IX got released to the online shop, as well as more game announcements, which I'm not really caring about. So cool. We'll leave a link in the video description for you guys to check out. When's Final Fantasy VII coming out? I thought that was already announced.
It was announced, but not out.
Okay, well, whatever. It's not out, so it doesn't matter. And then, in case you want the latest Battle Royale craze, you gotta pick up Tetris, because Tetris 99 is coming out, and you play Tetris against a whole bunch of other people online in a really weird way, and why? Tetris Battle Royale. What timeline are we in, guys? Am I hallucinating again? Because this feels like something that I would have concocted last night while I was having a fever dream. What's going on? Anyways, then let's talk about Walgreens. For the sheer fact that I used to work at one, China's Alipay is coming to over 7,000 Walgreens stores. And for those of you who aren't from America, Walgreens is basically a drugstore where they are on every street corner everywhere. And on the other street corner is a CVS. And why do we need 15,000 drugstores in America? I don't know, but we have them. Anyways, I worked at Walgreens for a while. I talked about my jobs last episode of Hot News, so I'm talking about them here today. I was the guy at the front counter just checking people out, and not like that. Okay, I'm done. That's the end of Hot News. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. Please pick up our merch, the It Just Works merch, as well as this thing is ray traced. Make sure that you pick it up and get it. Just ray trace your working life. And don't forget that we have the giveaway currently going on, RTX 2080 Ti plus a 1TB NVMe drive. I actually bought this one, but it's the exact same one that Wootware is giving away. This is going in Rikus's editing system because he always runs out of storage. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Thank you so much for watching Hot News. I'll see your smiling faces again in the next video. Love you too, bye.
Sure you said that fast enough?
Shut your mouth. I'm kidding.